Have you ever looked at your plate and thought, I'm doing everything right? Eating clean, choosing vegetables, even drinking the broth to stay healthy? And yet your body still feels worse. Your nights are restless and your lab results keep getting darker. Because what I'm about to tell you may shock you. One of the most healthy habits people trust every single day is quietly damaging their kidneys, especially if you're living with diabetes or over the age of 50. I'm Dr. Johnny, and in the last decade, I've seen too many patients walk into my clinic believing they were protecting their health, only to discover they were slowly pushing their kidneys toward failure without even realizing it. And the most heartbreaking part is this: damage doesn't come with loud warnings. It builds silently until one day it's too late to ignore. But here's where it gets even more concerning. The problem isn't the vegetables themselves, it's how you're consuming them, and more specifically, what you're drinking along with them, something most people have been taught since childhood is good for you. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly which everyday vegetables and which common cooking habit could be putting dangerous pressure on your kidneys. And more importantly, I'll give you simple practical fixes you can start today to protect your body, stabilize your blood sugar, and avoid becoming the next patient who says, I wish I had known sooner. Let me start with the vegetable that almost everyone watching this has eaten at least once this week: water spinach. On the surface, it looks like one of the safest, cleanest choices you can make. It's light, it's green, it's traditional, and for many people, especially over 50, it feels like the right food when you're trying to control blood sugar and protect your health. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Water spinach itself is not the real problem. The danger is hidden in something most people never question: the broth. I remember a patient, 62 years old, sitting right across from me. He told me, Dr. Johnny, I've done everything right. I stopped eating meat, I eat boiled vegetables every day, and I even drink all the vegetable water so nothing goes to waste. He genuinely believed he was healing his body. But his lab results told a completely different story. His creatinine had spiked, and his kidney filtration rate had dropped significantly. He was already in stage 3 kidney disease. And when we traced it back, the answer wasn't fast food, it wasn't sugar overload, it was that daily habit of drinking boiled vegetable water, especially from water spinach. Here's why this matters on a scientific level, and I want you to really understand this part. Water spinach is naturally high in a compound called oxalate. When you boil the vegetable, that oxalate doesn't disappear, it leaches out into the water. Studies show that boiling can transfer a significant portion of oxalates directly into the cooking liquid. So what looks like a light, healthy broth is actually carrying a concentrated load of compounds your kidneys have to filter out. Now, if your kidneys are perfectly healthy, your body can usually handle this. But if you have diabetes or even early signs of kidney stress, your filtration system is already under pressure. When oxalate enters the bloodstream, it can bind with calcium and form tiny crystals. Over time, these crystals don't just pass through harmlessly. They can accumulate, scratch delicate kidney tissues, and contribute to stone formation and inflammation. Think of it like this. Every time you drink that bowl of vegetable water, you're not just hydrating, you're sending microscopic grains of sand through a filter that's already worn out. One day it's nothing, but repeat that every single day, and the damage adds up silently. So what's the smarter way to handle this? You don't need to fear water spinach. You don't need to eliminate it completely. The key is in how you use it. Eat the vegetable itself for fiber and nutrients, but discard the water. Or better yet, lightly stir-fry it instead of boiling. That one small adjustment can significantly reduce the oxalate load your kidneys have to deal with. And let me ask you something. Directly, have you ever had the habit of finishing the entire bowl of vegetable broth, thinking it was the healthiest part of the meal? If so, you're not alone. But this is exactly the kind of hidden mistake that builds up over time. Drop a comment below and tell me if this sounds like you, because what you've been taught might not be the full story. Because here's the part most people miss. Water spinach is just the beginning. If you think this is the only vegetable where the healthy habit is actually backfiring, you're going to be surprised. But just knowing this alone is not enough, because there's another vegetable often cooked in the same comforting way that can create an even more dangerous combination inside your body. Now, if you thought switching away from water spinach was enough to stay safe, this is where many people unknowingly walk straight into a bigger trap: Malabar spinach. Because on the surface, Malabar spinach feels even more comforting. It's soft, cooling, often cooked into light soups with clams or shellfish. and widely believed to detox the body. In fact, I've had patients proudly tell me, "I stopped eating water spinach, doctor. Now I only eat Malabar spinach soup 3 times a day." And they truly believed they had made a healthier choice. But just a few weeks later, one case still stands out clearly in my mind. The same patient called me late at night, his voice shaking. He said he couldn't sleep because of a sharp throbbing pain in his big toe. His urine had become cloudy, and every trip to the bathroom felt like burning glass. What he didn't realize was that his healthy meal had triggered a sudden gout flare on top of already stressed kidneys. Here's what's happening inside the body, and this is where it gets serious. Malabar spinach, like water spinach, is also high in oxalates. But the real danger comes when it's combined with shellfish, like clams or mussels. These foods are rich in purines, which the body breaks down into uric acid. When you mix high oxalate vegetables with high purine proteins, you're essentially creating a biochemical overload, oxalate, stressing the kidneys and uric acid flooding the bloodstream. Scientific data shows that elevated uric acid levels can significantly increase the risk of gout and kidney complications, especially in individuals with diabetes or reduced kidney function. And when uric acid crystallizes, it doesn't just stay in the joints, it can also deposit in the kidneys, further impairing filtration and increasing the risk of long-term damage. Think of it like a traffic jam inside your body. Oxalate is already clogging the lanes, and then uric acid comes in like a surge of cars with nowhere to go. The kidneys, already weakened, are forced to manage both at the same time, and eventually they start to fail under the pressure. So what should you do instead? First, you don't have to completely eliminate Malabar spinach, but you need to be extremely mindful. Avoid combining it with shellfish, especially if you have a history of gout, high blood sugar, or kidney issues. Keep portions moderate, and most importantly, stop treating the broth as something healing. Because just like before, the water is where much of the dissolved compounds accumulate. And let me ask you this, have you ever switched foods thinking you were making a healthier decision only to realize later it made things worse? That's exactly how these silent habits work. They don't feel dangerous until your body starts reacting. But here's the part that surprises most people. Even if you avoid oxalate and uric acid combinations, there's another hidden factor that can be even more dangerous for your heart and kidneys at the same time. And it's hiding in a vegetable that many believe is one of the most nutritious of all. But just knowing this alone is not enough, because there's another factor often overlooked that can disrupt your body in a much faster and more dangerous way. Now here's where things take a turn that most people never see coming, because even if you've been careful with oxalates and avoided those dangerous combinations, there's another hidden threat that doesn't just affect your kidneys, it can directly impact your heart in a matter of days. And it's hiding in a vegetable that many families proudly serve, believing it's one of the most nourishing choices on the table: amaranth greens. At first glance, amaranth looks like the perfect health food. It's vibrant, rich in nutrients, often associated with building blood and restoring strength. Many older adults especially trust it, thinking, if it's red, it must be good for my body. But here's the truth that rarely gets explained. What makes amaranth look powerful on the outside can become dangerous on the inside if your kidneys are not functioning at full capacity. I remember one patient, a retired teacher, who told me she had completely cut out processed food. She proudly ate boiled amaranth several times a week, and just like before, she drank every drop of that deep red broth, believing it was the most concentrated nutrition. But over time, she started experiencing something strange. Her heart would race unexpectedly. She felt weak in her muscles and sometimes even short of breath after light activity. When we ran her blood tests, the issue became clear. Her potassium levels were significantly elevated. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. Amaranth greens are extremely high in potassium, sometimes reaching over 300 milligrams per 100 grams. Under normal conditions, your kidneys regulate potassium balance very precisely, filtering out the excess through urine. But when kidney function declines even slightly, this system begins to break down. And when potassium builds up in the bloodstream, it doesn't just sit there quietly. It interferes with the electrical signals that control your heart. This condition, known as hyperkalemia, can lead to irregular heart rhythms, muscle weakness, and in severe cases, sudden cardiac arrest. Let that sink in for a moment. A vegetable that looks harmless, even beneficial, can quietly push your body toward a life-threatening imbalance if consumed the wrong way. And just like with the previous vegetables, the biggest mistake isn't eating the greens themselves. It's drinking the water they were cooked in. Because when you boil amaranth, a significant portion of that potassium leaches into the broth, turning it into a concentrated load that your kidneys must process all at once. So what's the smarter approach? You don't need to fear amaranth, but you must respect how your body handles it. Limit intake to once or twice a week, cook it thoroughly, and most importantly, discard the cooking water. By doing this, you significantly reduce the potassium burden and protect both your kidneys and your heart. And let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever experienced heart palpitations or unusual fatigue and just brushed it off as getting older? Sometimes these are not random signs, they're your body quietly asking for help. But here's what most people don't realize. Even if you manage oxalates and potassium correctly, there's still another layer of risk, one that doesn't come from minerals alone, but from the way certain superfoods interact with your body at a microscopic level. But just knowing this alone is not enough, because there's another vegetable praised worldwide for its health benefits that can quietly accelerate kidney damage if prepared the wrong way. Now here's where things become even more confusing, because the next vegetable is something you've probably heard praised over and over again as a superfood, something doctors, nutritionists, and health blogs constantly recommend for better blood sugar control, anti-aging, and overall wellness. And that vegetable is spinach. So naturally, many people think if it's this healthy, the more I eat, the better. They add it to soups, blend it into smoothies, eat it raw in salads, believing they are doing everything right. But this is exactly where a dangerous misunderstanding begins. I once had a patient in her late 50s who told me she had completely transformed her diet. Every morning she drank a green smoothie with raw spinach. At lunch, she had spinach salad. At dinner, spinach soup. She said, "Dr. Johnny, I feel like I'm finally eating clean." But just a few months later, she came back with lower back pain, occasional blood in her urine, and a constant feeling of discomfort she couldn't explain. When we examined, further imaging revealed early-stage kidney stone formation. Here's what's happening, and this is critical to understand. Spinach is one of the highest oxalate-containing vegetables available. In fact, research shows that spinach can contain hundreds of milligrams of oxalates per serving. When consumed raw or in large amounts, these oxalates are readily absorbed into the bloodstream. Once inside your body, oxalates can bind with calcium and form crystals, tiny sharp structures that travel through your kidneys. Over time, these crystals can accumulate and grow into kidney stones, damaging the delicate filtration system and triggering inflammation. And the risk becomes even higher if your kidneys are already under stress from diabetes or aging, because your body's no longer as efficient at flushing these compounds out, meaning what might have been harmless years ago can now become a serious threat. But here's the key point most people completely miss. The way you prepare spinach changes everything. When you boil spinach and then discard the water, you can reduce a significant portion of its oxalate content, sometimes by more than 50%. But if you eat it raw or drink it blended into smoothies, you're getting the full concentrated dose with zero reduction. So the solution isn't to fear spinach, it's to respect it. Lightly blanch it in boiling water for about 1 minute, rinse it, then cook it properly. This one simple step can dramatically lower your risk. And let me ask you this, have you ever started a healthy habit like green smoothies, thinking it was the best thing you could do for your body? You're not alone. But sometimes what looks clean on the outside can be quietly overwhelming your system on the inside. But here's where it gets even more surprising, because even if you avoid oxalates and potassium overload, there's still one more common habit often done first thing in the morning that can place an intense silent burden on your kidneys. But just knowing this alone is not enough, because the final vegetable and the way most people consume it may be the most dangerous mistake of all. And now we come to the final piece of the puzzle. The one habit that looks the cleanest, feels the most detoxifying, and yet when done wrong, can quietly place the heaviest burden on your kidneys. And that is celery, especially in the form of fresh juice. If you've ever searched for natural detox or morning cleanse chances, or you've seen celery juice at the top of the list. Millions of people, especially in the US, start their day with a large glass, believing it flushes toxins, lowers blood pressure, and resets the body. It sounds perfect, it feels pure, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous when misunderstood. I remember a patient who told me with complete confidence, "Dr. Johnny, I drink celery juice every single morning. Half a liter, sometimes more. I feel like I'm doing something amazing for my health, But over time, she began to feel constantly fatigued, her labs started to shift, and her kidney markers showed early signs of stress. Nothing dramatic at first, just subtle changes that most people would ignore until they don't. Here's what's really happening inside your body. Celery is naturally high in both potassium and oxalates, the same two compounds we've been talking about. But when you juice celery, you remove the fiber and concentrate everything else into a fast-absorbing liquid. That means your body receives a sudden surge of these compounds all at once. Scientific observations show that excessive potassium intake, especially in people with reduced kidney function, can lead to dangerous imbalances in the blood. And when combined with oxalates, the kidneys are forced to filter a concentrated load without the buffering effect of fiber. It's like flooding a system that was never designed to handle that volume so quickly. Think of it this way. Eating a small portion of cooked celery is like walking uphill at a steady pace, but drinking a large glass of celery juice is like sprinting full speed without a break. One builds strength, the other overwhelms the system. So what's the smarter approach? Don't eliminate celery, but change how you use it. Eat it cooked in moderate portions combined with other foods. Avoid making it a daily high-volume juice, especially on an empty stomach, because your kidneys don't just process what you eat, they process how fast and how concentrated it enters your body. And let me ask you something. Honestly, have you ever followed a health trend simply because everyone else is doing it without really questioning how it affects your body specifically? That's how silent damage begins. Not from bad intentions, but from incomplete information. But here's the part that matters most. Everything we've talked about so far, oxalates, potassium, food combinations, it all leads to one simple truth. Your kidneys don't fail overnight. They wear down quietly from small habits repeated every single day. But just knowing these 5 vegetables isn't enough, because what truly determines whether your kidneys stay healthy or decline over time comes down to something even simpler, and it's what you choose to do starting tomorrow morning. And if there's one thing I truly want you to take away from this video, it's this. Your body is not fragile, it's responsive. It listens to what you do every single day. And even small changes, when done consistently, can give your kidneys a real chance to recover, to breathe, and to function the way they were meant to. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to give up everything you enjoy. But just being aware of how you prepare your food, what you drink along with it, and how your body responds can be the difference between silent damage and long-term health. Because kidney problems don't happen overnight. They build quietly, and that also means you still have time to change the direction. So here's what I want you to do right now. Save this video, not just to watch again, but to remind yourself of these simple habits before your next meal. And if you found this helpful, take a second to subscribe to the channel, because I'll be sharing more practical, science-based insights to help you protect your kidneys, manage blood sugar, and stay healthy as you age. And more importantly, share this with someone you care about. Because sometimes the knowledge you pass on today could prevent someone you love from sitting in a clinic one day, wishing they had known sooner. Your kidneys are working for you every minute, every second quietly without asking for anything in return. The least we can do is take care of them before they start asking for help.